In this video, there's one other very quick thing I want to show you with Redux DevTools. This is not going to be a feature that is immediately super useful for us, but we're going to end up making use of this other feature in Redux DevTools at great length later on inside this course. So let me tell you what this little feature is. Inside of our address bar, we're going to navigate to our application at localhost :3000, but then we're going to put on this little query string right here. So we're going to put on a question mark, debug_session equals, and then some random string of characters. When you do this, Redux DevTools is going to see that you are trying to start up a debug session. A debug session is where Redux DevTools is going to automatically save all of the data inside of your Redux store and persist it across refreshes of your application. So normally, when we refresh our application, all the data inside of our Redux store falls away and we lose it entirely. When you enable this debug session, Redux DevTools is going to make sure that all the data stays around between refreshes of the page. So this is incredibly useful when we start doing some advanced feature development, and we're going to see how useful it is later on inside the course. Let's very quickly check out this little feature and see how it works. So I'm going to go back over to my application, and in the address bar, I'm going to go to question mark, debug_session, and then some random string of characters like so. Now, once I'm here, I'm then going to sign out and then sign back in. Now, when I do so, you'll notice I now have a couple of actions that have been dispatched to my store. I have the initial sign in from when I refresh the page. I have a sign out from when I click the sign out button, and I have another sign in from when I sign back in. Now, here's the magic. If I refresh this page, I'm still going to see the same list of actions here. So Redux DevTools has persisted all those actions and all the state across the refresh, and we have not dropped off or lost any data. What's really great about this is that we can now go back and jump to some previous state, just as we did before by clicking that little jump button. Or I could jump to the sign in or back to present, which would be the most recent sign in right there. So like I said, this is really useful for debugging, and we're going to use this at great length later on inside the course. One thing I want you to be aware of is that once you're done with a debug session, you are going to want to remove that query string out of the URL. Otherwise, Redux DevTools are just going to continuously try to throw your previous state into your store. And sometimes you really don't want that, particularly if you change some reducer to return some other form of data, like maybe an array instead of an object. If you continue running a debug session, you'll very quickly start to run into errors because Redux DevTools is trying to throw data into your store that is no longer valid. Now, the other thing I want to show you really quickly is sometimes we might want to have some named debug sessions. So maybe I would give this one a name of like logged in, like so. And then I would make sure that inside this debug session, I am logged in. And then maybe I will make another debug session called logged out, like so. And then I could sign out here. So now I have two separate debug sessions that are running, one where I am logged in, the other where I am not logged in. So if I wanted to, I can now easily go back to the previous debug session by going to logged_in, and I'm going to essentially retrieve the previous state that I had. You can actually see over here, the previous state from the logged in debug session had me signed in. Now, immediately after I loaded the page, the GAPI library said, oh, you're not signed in anymore because I actually had signed out, so it's going to dispatch the sign out action. But essentially, by creating these different debug sessions, I can have these different kind of checkpoints of state inside of my application that, again, makes it really easy to develop and debug certain features. Now, just one more time, remember, anytime that you are done with the debug session, make sure you take off that query string. Otherwise, you're going to try to throw some data into your store that you probably don't want to throw in. So I'm going to go back to localhost 3000, and we'll take a pause right here. And this time, we will actually continue with Redux Form in the next video. So quick pause, and I'll see you in just a minute.